Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking this absolutely ingenious psychological trap, and the wild part is, it's completely disguised as a gripping mystery. Imagine stepping into a scenario that is literally engineered to make you jump to the wrong conclusion, all while making you feel like, a brilliant detective. Let's dive right in and see exactly how human psychology can be turned into this profound learning experience.
We're going to start with what looks like your classic true crime setup. A highly valuable 50-year-old time capsule, sealed by founding families, just vanishes from the Riverside Community Library's Heritage Room, and it disappears just 3 days before this massive public unveiling ceremony. The library director is frantic, the shelf is completely empty, and the pressure is instantly on to figure out exactly who took it.
Enter our primary witness, a local historian named Marcus Webb. He steps right up and points the finger squarely at Diana Reeves. And, to be honest, his story makes perfect sense. Diana is a recently fired library employee. She was let go for tardiness. She had this massive angry outburst on her way out the door, and she knew exactly where the capsule was kept. Marcus is articulate, he's super organized, and his narrative is just completely captivating. He paints this vivid picture of a disgruntled employee coming back for revenge and a quick payday. But here is the massive twist. There is no theft. Actually, there isn't even a Riverside Community Library. This whole scenario, it's called The Missing. It's a 10-day educational simulation created by the Chalk and Ledger Group, specifically designed as an English language arts curriculum for 6th graders. And the absolute wildest part about all of this is that the designers explicitly engineered the entire thing to make the students accuse the wrong person. Marcus's compelling story is a total fabrication, and these kids are about to fall right into the trap.
Moving into Section 1, Designing the Cognitive Trap, let's take a quick look at how the curriculum designers at Chalk and Ledger weaponize psychology here. So the engine driving this whole simulation is what they call the bias ledger. It's basically a matrix of cognitive traps built straight into the investigation, forming part of Chalk and Ledger's patience framework, which is their set of 8 capacities for navigating uncertainty. As the kids spend 10 days poring over witness statements and library documents, they aren't just solving a fake mystery. They're actually running an obstacle course of their own mental biases. Every single day is meticulously calibrated to trigger a very specific cognitive blind spot. And the trap officially springs on day 2 using the halo effect. This is when students read Marcus Webb's statement. Now remember, Marcus is confident, he's well-spoken, and he lays out this incredibly thrilling theory. The halo effect basically tricks the students into trusting him just because he sounds so authoritative. But if you read his statement carefully, Marcus actually admits he wasn't even at the library that week. No way, right? He has 0 first-hand evidence. Literally everything he claims is second-hand speculation. But because he sounds like he really knows what he's talking about, the vast majority of students commit to his theory right then and there. Which brings us to the core design philosophy of this entire curriculum. Section 2, The Boring Choice Wins. There's this deliberate, really striking contrast between our 2 main witnesses. On the left, you've got Marcus, the compelling, dramatic narrator with literally 0 verifiable facts. But over on the right, we have Gerald Huang, an elderly library volunteer. Gerald is, well, the boring witness. He speaks in short, totally unremarkable sentences about moving boxes. He isn't exciting at all. But unlike Marcus, Gerald has 100% verifiable first-hand observation of what actually happened in that room. The whole simulation is basically testing whether these students will choose substance over a flashy delivery. By day 3, the students finally meet the accused, Diana, and boom, they immediately fall for the fundamental attribution error. See, when she's interviewed, Diana is incredibly defensive and hostile. So the students look at her and think, oh, she's acting guilty. Innocent people just don't act like that. They're attributing her behavior entirely to her character. What they completely ignore are her circumstances. I mean, she's defensive because she literally just got fired. And even worse, they inexplicably toss out a very boring but very verifiable dentist receipt that proves she was 3 miles away when the capsule vanished. The funny thing is, the entire mystery can actually be solved by day 4. The students really just need to connect this incredibly mundane chain of documentary evidence. Look at this. Doc A is just a routine email telling volunteers to move unlabeled items to basement shelf B12. Doc C is an inventory log noting the time capsule's label adhesive was failing. Then Gerald's statement says he moved an unlabeled box to B12. If the students just slowed down and read carefully, the case is closed right there. The capsule wasn't stolen at all, it was just misfiled. But Marcus's dramatic storyline is so alluring that the kids just skim right past all this boring paperwork.
So they've completely ignored the boring truth to chase a thrilling lie. That takes us to Section 3, Engineering the Sunk Cost.
Day 5 is the Town Council Review. Here, the curriculum forces these student investigation teams to get up and publicly present and defend their flawed theories to the rest of the class. But it goes a step further. They actually have to physically sign a written commitment to their suspect. This right here is an absolute masterclass in the bandwagon effect. Because most teams fell for Marcus's story, the room turns into this massive echo chamber. If a quiet team actually happened to notice the boring clues pointing to Gerald, they suddenly face this immense peer pressure to just abandon their good evidence and conform to the majority's dramatic theory.
Then, on day 6, objective security data drops, and it definitively proves Diana was never at the library. The cameras simply do not show her anywhere. So now the students have this budget decision to make. Do they spend $1,500 of their investigation funds searching the boring basement where Gerald said he put the boxes, or do they waste it clinging to their false narrative, maybe suggesting Diana used a secret back door or hacked the cameras? It's a brilliant way to test their ability to adapt their strategy when hard data contradicts their deeply held beliefs.
The crucial turning point arrives on Day 7. Welcome to Section 4, the Day 7 Reckoning.
Teams that falsely accuse Diana are about to run face-first into the sunk cost fallacy. Think about it. They've spent a whole week passionately arguing that she's guilty. But today, a new document surfaces. It's just a simple, handwritten post-it note from Gerald that was buried under a pile of papers. And it says, "Moved unmarked box to B12. It definitively proves he merely relocated the capsule. The entire theft was an illusion." Now, the students have to decide. Do they admit they were entirely wrong, or do they double down just because they've already invested so much time and effort into the wrong theory?
Looking at this timeline, the sheer genius of the simulation really lies in its pacing. Day 2 sets the emotional trap. Day 5 forces them to publicly lock in their mistake. Then Day 7 is that agonizing reckoning where students realize they ignored the boring, documentary truth just to chase a thrilling, entirely fabricated lie. It's a complete emotional roller coaster, intentionally designed to let them fail, but safely, inside the four walls of a classroom.
Which begs a pretty massive question. Why put 11 and 12-year-olds through this highly engineered, emotionally taxing process? Let's look at Section 5, the Discovery First lesson.
It's all built on this incredible educational concept called the Discovery First protocol. The students actually research cognitive biases on day 0 before the simulation even starts, but then the teacher completely hides those terms for the next 9 days. In fact, teachers are explicitly instructed never to correct struggling teams prematurely. The students have to experience these biases organically. They have to actually feel the gravitational pull of the halo effect and the real sting of the sunk cost fallacy before they are finally allowed to put a name to them on day 10.
The true goal of the whole program is actually revealed in the teacher's grading guide. The absolute brilliance of the final rubric is that it actually rewards intellectual honesty and metacognition, thinking about your own thinking over just blindly guessing the right answer. If a team writes a final report dissecting exactly how they got fooled by a confident narrator, they will score higher than a team that guessed the right answer but can't explain their evidence. It completely normalizes the idea of changing your mind when presented with new facts.
As we wrap up this explainer, you can see how this lesson extends way beyond a 6th grade classroom. This simulation perfectly reflects our daily media diet, doesn't it? It's full of dramatic hot takes, ultra-confident voices, and really compelling but often completely inaccurate stories. So we have to ask ourselves, when we're evaluating the information we consume every single day, do we have the patience to slow down, look past the captivating narrator, and just let the boring truth win? Definitely something to think about the next time you hear a story that sounds just a little too perfect. Thanks for joining me, and keep questioning everything.